What is reality? What we experience today, is that a reality or just an illusion? Imagine if our whole world might actually be a giant computer program. Think of it as a super advanced video game, where we're all just characters and we don't even realize it. This isn't new. People have always wondered what's real and what's not, just like in those Matrix movies. Join us as we try to reveal some mind-boggling facts by peeling the layers of reality and simulation. The Stepping Stone. Nick Bostrom, a philosopher, really shone a light on simulation theory. He is seriously suggesting that this could be true and we could even test it. But not everyone's convinced. Some experts think it's just too wild to be true. It's kind of like that old story Plato told about people living in a cave and thinking shadows were real life. But if Bostrom's theory is true, it's more likely that we're actually in one of those fake worlds right now, rather than the real deal. It's a head spinner, right? He goes on to say that if we ever reach that level of tech, it's pretty unlikely that we're the original version of life, and not just characters in some cosmic video game. But the real question is, how would we ever know for sure? Bostrom thinks it'd be really hard to tell unless the simulation itself gives us a hint. Bostrom's simulation argument. This argument basically believed that one of these three scenarios must be true. 1. We will be destroyed before we'll manage to create a simulation. 2. We'll manage to create a simulation, but choose not to. 3. We're 100% living in a simulation. As per this argument, many technologists and futurologists predict that enormous amounts of computing power will be available in the future. Let us suppose for a moment that these predictions are correct. Our later generations could run detailed simulations of their forebears, or of people like their forebears with their super powerful computers. Suppose that these simulated people are conscious, as they would be if the simulations were sufficiently fine-grained, and if a certain quite widely accepted position in the philosophy of mind is correct. Then it could be the case that the vast majority of minds like ours do not belong to the original race, but rather to people simulated by the advanced descendants of an original race, isn't it? But some people argue that beings in a simulation wouldn't really think and feel like we do. Or it's just obvious that we're real, not digital. They think Bostrom's ideas are more fantasy than science. Others point out that we don't have any proof of technology that could make such realistic simulations. Marcelo Gleiser, a physicist, adds another thought. A civilization that can make a whole universe in a simulation might find it pointless. Why make a fake version of something you already fully understand? He also wonders about an endless loop of simulations within simulations, like that movie Inception, but with whole universes. About the Big Bang. Think of the Big Bang as the universe's kickoff. Before it, everything was squished into a tiny point. Then, boom, it expanded, forming stars, planets, and galaxies. The role of God in the universe's creation varies by belief. Science looks at how it happened, while religions often view it as an act of divine will. So what was before the Big Bang? It's a tough question. Scientifically, time began with the Big Bang, so before is a tricky concept. Maybe there was another universe, or something else we don't yet understand. In religious or philosophical thoughts, it's often described as a void, nothingness, or some kind of existence that we just can't grasp with our current understanding. Simulation glitch. We all at some point of time experience déjà vu. So what is that? Is it a hint to us that we're in a simulated world? Like a glitch in a video game? It's a wild idea. But some top-notch scientists and thinkers actually think our reality might be a bit fake. Philip K. Dick, the guy behind stories like Blade Runner, believed in multiple universes overlapping ours. Then there's the Mandela effect. It's when lots of people remember stuff that didn't happen, like thinking the Monopoly guy has a monocle. He doesn't. These weird memory slips, like movie lines people swear were different, could be signs of our game showing its cracks, making us wonder if everything is really as it appears. Supporting experiments. Philosophers are using this idea to ask other big questions too. Like, if we're in a simulation, does that change how we think about our own minds and reality? Could our thoughts come from something other than the physical world around us? These debates get us thinking about who we are and what makes us unique. Now let's talk about quantum reality. This is where things get trippy. Quantum reality is all about the strange world of quantum mechanics, a part of physics that looks at really tiny things like atoms and particles. In this world, things don't act like they're used to. Like, particles can be in more than one state at the same time. Remember Schrodinger's cat, alive and dead at the same time? That's totally not what we see in our normal lives. There were these Nobel Prize-winning experiments that really shook things up. They tested the idea called local realism. It is this belief that objects have certain properties and states, whether we're looking at them or not. Like the moon is still there, even if no one's watching. But these experiments showed that at the quantum level, this might not be true. The big deal from these experiments is that local realism doesn't work for tiny particles. These particles can be affected by things far away and might only decide what they are when they observe them. It's like they're waiting for us to decide. The tricky part is figuring out how this quantum weirdness applies to everyday stuff, like cars, trees, and us. There's a huge difference between the world of tiny particles and the big stuff we deal with daily. Scientists are still trying to connect the dots. Let's talk about how animals, including us, evolved to survive. Every creature has its own set of senses, right? Like bats are awesome at echolocation, and we humans are great at seeing stuff. These senses developed over time to help each species survive in their own world. Donald D. Hoffman, a smarty-pants in cognitive science, says we're not actually seeing the world as it truly is. Our brains are more about keeping us alive than showing us the real deal. They give us a simplified version of reality, kind of like a user-friendly interface. But the big question is, what is consciousness? Is it just something our brains do, or is it a basic part of the universe? If it's a fundamental thing, then everything we experience is colored by our consciousness. It's like saying there's no solid objective world out there. It's all in our minds. Right now, we don't really get how artificial intelligence, AI, could feel or experience things like humans do. Our consciousness is super complex, and AI, even with all its fancy algorithms and data crunching, doesn't really get things on a deep level. AI is great at analyzing data and following instructions, but it doesn't actually understand anything. It's missing the real-life experiences and the complex brain stuff that makes us conscious. Elon Musk has this wild theory. He thinks there's practically no chance we're living in what he calls base reality. In his view, it's way more likely that we're all part of some massive AI simulation. It's like we're characters in a giant cosmic video game. Musk sees this as a good sign though, like there's hope for us humans. Now, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has a different take. He reckons it's about a 50-50 shot that we're living in a computer program. While he's not as certain as Musk, he's open to the idea that maybe, just maybe, this isn't the real deal. Seth Lloyd, a big brain in the science world, wrote a book called Programming the Universe. He thinks the entire universe might be a giant quantum computer. In his view, things like entropy are really about information. This means that everything, from atoms to electrons, might be bits of data. And every time they collide, it's like a computer doing a calculation. So to conclude, are we really real? Or is this just an illusion and we're living in a simulation? As we develop more sophisticated technology, how might we use it to explore or even manipulate quantum realities? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.